The once unsinkable Titanic, that met her fate on her very first voyage, was claimed by the creators that it was untouchable. Yet destiny had other plans. Among many unresolved mysteries connected to the Titanic, researchers have solved one after the other during the investigation of the shipwreck. As time passes, we have learned more and more about the ship, but there are still an ocean of questions and mysteries left to be solved. One of the mysteries connected with Titanic is that the front part of the ship was in an overall better condition than the back part, and it was placed 2,000 feet away from the front of the ship. What was the reason behind this happening? Let's dive deep into the Titanic mysteries and find out what really happened. Welcome back to our channel. Have you not subscribed yet? Do it now, because there are some crazy stuff coming up. The RMS Titanic, a British passenger liner, sank on April 15, 1912, after colliding with an iceberg during its maiden voyage from Southampton to New York City. But this discovery leads investigators to question if something other than colliding with the iceberg happened to the ship, which damaged the back part of the ship more than the front part. Both of the Titanic halves should have been decayed equally, but unfortunately that's not the case. What really could have been the reason for all this? The Carpathia was the first ship to respond to the Titanic's distress calls and rushed to the scene to aid in the rescue efforts. Under the command of Captain Arthur Rostron, the Carpathia traveled at maximum speed to reach the Titanic's location. Despite the treacherous conditions, the Carpathia managed to rescue over 700 survivors from lifeboats in the frigid waters. Even Carpathia reached after 1.5 hours after the shipwreck, but if the Carpathia had not arrived, many people would have been freezed to death in the cold waters, and no one would be able to find the exact reason behind the shipwreck. Since the only people who were the witness of the shipwreck were the one drowning and eventually came out of the cold water, alive, they knew the reason for the shipwreck. They said that the ship hit an iceberg, and it was confirmed because the iceberg still had the red paint of Titanic on it. After the incident happened, the investigation process started. Considering the whole incident and the explanations given by the eyewitnesses, investigation concluded that the iceberg left a 300 feet long hole in the right side of the ship, which was almost 1/3 of the whole ship. The eyewitnesses also recorded that it took 2.5 hours for the ship to sink. But investigators explained that if the hole was as big as 300 feet, the ship would have sunken in a matter of few minutes and not 2.5 hours. Now, what was the actual truth behind it all? Back, when the tragedy struck, it was impossible to know the whole truth. The researchers had to find the shipwreck in order to find answers. However, this task was not a joke, and something that was near impossible. The extreme deep water pressure, lack of technology, and pitch-black darkness was some of the factors making this task really hard. It took years to find the ship and debunk the mysterious facts about the Titanic shipwreck. Deep-sea explorers kept searching and searching until they finally had the equipment to really dive deep into the abyss. It was only after 73 years they were finally able to find it. The wreckage of the RMS Titanic was discovered on September 1, 1985, by a joint American-French expedition led by Dr. Robert Ballard, a marine geologist and oceanographer. The shipwreck lies at a depth of about 12,500 feet, 3,800 meters, on the Atlantic Ocean floor, approximately 370 miles, 600 kilometers, southeast of Newfoundland, Canada. As we know, the Titanic broke apart as it sank, and its wreckage is scattered across the seafloor. The ship's bow, front, and stern, rear sections lie about more than 2,000 feet apart from each other. When the wreck of the RMS Titanic was discovered in 1985, it marked a significant moment in maritime history and led to renewed interest in the investigation and study of the disaster. Various expeditions have been conducted to explore the wreckage and gather more information about the ship's sinking and the events leading up to it. Paul-Henri Nargeolet, a French deep-sea explorer and underwater archaeologist, played a significant role in the exploration and studies of the wreck of the RMS Titanic. He has been involved in several expeditions to the Titanic wreck site and has contributed immensely to our understanding of the ship's condition and the events surrounding its sinking. He made more than 30 visits to the shipwreck, and he never saw the fissure of 300 feet. However, in one of the pictures, it is visible that there was an area of 11 square feet where something must have collided with the giant, which we know is an iceberg. Through this fissure, approximately 370 gallons of water per second would enter the Titanic. With this assumption, investigators reached the conclusion that it would have taken 2.5 hours to fill Titanic with water, and this was the exact time the eyewitnesses explained it took for the ship to drown completely. With this, the first mystery was solved. The fissure was not 300 feet big, but rather a hole of 30 feet, or an area of 11 square meters. This is way smaller than what we knew previously, but still even a 30-foot hole is a big nightmare. However, this was not the only mystery. There were a lot of hidden truths to be unraveled. Now the researchers were still figuring out why the bow, the front part of the ship, was in better condition than the back part, stern. And what could have been the reason for the huge distance between the two parts? By combining multiple sonar scans from different angles, researchers can create three-dimensional models of the Titanic wreck. These models offer a comprehensive view of the site and aid in the interpretation of its features. Sonar scanning has played a crucial role in gathering facts about the Titanic and understanding the wreck's condition. Sonar technology uses sound waves to create detailed images of objects and structures underwater. With the help of sonar scanning, 3D models were created, and therefore investigators were able to observe the details of the Titanic wreck, which would otherwise not have been possible. 3D models of Titanic revealed that the stern of the ship had all crumbled, with its deck being embedded into one another, while the smaller parts were all scattered nearby. The traces that were being observed hinted that the stern was moving in an anti-clockwise direction when it hit the ocean floor. It was also estimated that the stern was moving at a speed of 80 kilometers per h. Now moving at such a high speed, some parts of the stern were scattered because of the forces being exerted by water. And when it finally hit the ocean floor, the decks were crushed into one another. While the bow section was designed to be hydrodynamic, and therefore it was able to cut through water, exactly the way it cut through water while floating over the ocean. Hence, it was not rotating the way stern was, and that was the reason for the bow being in better condition than the stern. And by this, another mystery was solved. But Titanic is a never-ending box, full of mysteries. The next question that came into our minds was, at what time exactly did the Titanic divide into two parts? Now this is interesting stuff. According to eyewitnesses, the splitting happened before the ship went down in the deep, cold waters. And it has been accepted as truth, but there was something yet to be explained. The bow section collected all the ocean water, and it went slowly down into the waters, while breaking, because the weight of the stern was put onto the pivot point of the ship. But wait a moment. The 3D model tells something else. The stuff that was once part of the ship, from personal stuff to coffee cups, were all scattered in 3.2 square km, and most of this stuff belongs to the stern of the ship. So if the stern had been separated from the bow, the stuff would have been scattered to an area much greater than just 3.2 square km. Therefore, experts believe that the stern part may have been broken while the ship was above the water, but separated much later while reaching near the ocean floor. And then, while it was rotating, it moved in a different direction and therefore landed at a great distance from the bow. Experts also believe that at the ocean bottom, the availability of oxygen is generally lower compared to the surface or shallower depths. As a result, the rate of rusting on the Titanic wreck may be slower in certain areas due to the reduced oxygen levels. However, the rusting of Titanic is believed to be happening because of the oxygen being released by the bacteria, and that's the reason it's rusting very fast. In the coming years, all of the decks of the wreckage will start to distort, and eventually their original shape will be lost forever. Even though there are a handful of mysteries left to be solved, we hope we opened your eyes and that you learned something new today. We would really like to hear your thoughts about the Titanic and its mysteries. Thanks for watching and welcome back.
In and out. Covered.